Hey guys, Brandon here with True Fly Supply coming back at you with another Fly Tying 101. And in this month's box, we gave out the Zoo Cougar, which is a spun deer hair fly. So get ready to have fun with that, boys and girls. All right, to get started here, we are going to go ahead and put our hook in the vise, get our thread going. Now for this fly, you are going to want a hair stacker and a razor blade. Now the reason why I started my thread here is I need all of this to be bare when I get back up here, because this is what's really going to help the deer hair spin. So go ahead and get my thread going, bring it all the way to the back of the shank, and then go ahead and trim off the extra. Looks like I need to sharpen my scissors. Go ahead and get your marabou here. See if you can find you a longer one. Seems to be better for this fly, mainly because you got to use part of the marabou feather for the body as well. So I'm going to go ahead and go with this piece here, if I can get it. Come on, there we go. All right, let me put my marabou away. Okay, go ahead and, if your marabou has any gross parts to it, go ahead and just pluck those off. Let me just get that off of me right now. All right, so now what we're gonna do is we're looking for a tail a little bit less than the length of the hook here. We're just going to go ahead and tie that in. Make sure this is tied in nice and tight, because this does like to spin on the next step. Now, what I do, and what we're going to do with this, is we're going to build ourselves a body with it. All these pieces that aren't really stuck on there, we're just going to go ahead and pull those off, since we don't really need them. And then what I like to do, what I like to do is I like to spin my marabou, kind of get all the fibers bundled up, and all we're doing is just building up kind of a body here. Now I didn't advance my thread forward, so now we're gonna have to do this all willy-nilly like here, and then I can just go ahead and get that all tied in just like so. Go ahead and trim off the excess. I just like to try and keep that piece as clean as possible. And then go ahead and come back. All we were doing there is really just building up kind of some girth to the body there. And for the next material, we're going to put on this glimmer braid. Kind of works like a Chinese finger trap. So make sure you get yourself off the section and pull it out. Go ahead and trim it off. And the reason why I say that is because I like to make sure that this is nice and kind of as skinny as possible for this next step. And I tie it in kind of at an angle, because this will definitely help. This will help you start your wraps a lot easier as well. Just like that. And this is where you just want to make sure it's all nice and tied in, super tight. Perfect, just like so. Now I kind of use my fingers to spin this around. It just kind of helps keep everything together. And then we go ahead and get it all tied in. Just like so. Perfect. Now what we're going to do, obviously, trim off the waist. just like that. And for the next step, we're going to take our bucktail. We don't need a whole lot, about the thickness of a matchstick. Go ahead and trim that off there. What we're looking for is something to kind of go back to the tail there. I like to get this tied in tight because I like to have it poof upwards like that, up against that glimmer braid. That just kind of helps keep the feather that we're going to lay over for the wing. That kind of just helps keep it propped up there. So for the wing, we're going to grab our mallard flank, and what we're looking for is a nice big feather that has the vein running right down the middle. See, like this one's pretty all right, actually. It's not too far off to the left or the right, so I think I'll use this one. And shove these feathers back in here. These mallard flank, if you're not careful, they can cause a mess in a hurry. Alright, so we're just going to peel off all these fluffy parts since we're not going to need those anyways. Just kind of get them out of our way here. And then we want to lay this as flat as possible on the fly here, which sometimes is easier said than done. That's not too bad. Go ahead and trim that off. Nope, looks like I missed a piece of bucktail. We'll just go ahead and pull that guy out. Alright, and here's the fun part. This is where we're going to start spinning our deer hair. Grab your deer hair. What we're looking for a collar, we're going to need a good chunk of it. Just a good, healthy chunk of deer hair here. And so deer hair has a lot of underbody fur, so once we get that trimmed off, whoops, I kind of don't have all my deer hair grabbed like I want to. Once you have that trimmed off, go ahead and give it a bunch of flicks, kind of really work under in that body, because there's a bunch of little hairs just like that we don't want in here. So just kind of work that out. And then for the next step, this is where we need our hair stacker. Grab your hair stacker, and as best as you can, kind of group everything together and get them all lined up inside your hair stacker. I'll peel these out right here and just get that kind of started in there. Now what you want to do is just tap that hair stacker on your desk. And what that does is it gets all of those tips nice and aligned like that. I did get one in here that's trapped, so we're going to take that guy out. And see, now that we have our tips all nice and aligned, just go ahead and pull it out of here, just like so. What I like to do is just give this a few more flicks, because inevitably there will still be hairs that are trapped in here that we don't need. So now that I'm feeling pretty good about that, we're looking for a nice wide collar here. So I'm just going to take my deer hair and do one. Just get some of these hairs out here. Do one nice loose wrap, second nice loose wrap, and kind of just start to pull on those as I'm getting them tied in. You kind of work your thread through the deer hair here. kind of help get yourself some room, because what we want is that thread to be in the front so we can really pack this portion of the deer hair backwards. This will help if you have like a old empty pen or something else to kind of really help you push that deer hair back, just like so. Perfect. All right, make sure your thread is in the front of all this. You got this all packed in nice and tight. We're gonna grab our deer hair again. This time don't grab quite as much, because really we're just building bulk here. We don't really need like the nice collar that came from that last step. So just grab a manageable amount of deer hair. We're not going to be using the hair stacker anymore. And so what I like to do, so that way I'm not trimming into my tips here, I just go ahead and trim off all the tips. That way I know exactly what I'm working with when I get to the trimming stage. But still, get out as much of that under fur as you can. This is not a clean fly to tie. You are going to get messy while tying this, I promise you. So just let it happen and bust out the vacuum later on. Now, what we're going to do is go ahead and get this tied in here. 1, 2 loose wraps. And then when you go to pull for your third wrap, just go ahead and let the deer hair spin. Just like so. And that's what we're looking for. Go ahead and just start packing this back. And getting your hair through the fibers. Or your thread through the fibers is what I meant to say. Go ahead and just keep packing that back. And now that your thread is above the fur, guess what we're going to do one more time. We're going to grab our deer hair. Get off a nice chunk. Get all that under fur out. Let's get the tips off. Two loose wraps, just like so. Then on the third one, let go and let it spin. Just gonna go ahead and push this back a little bit more. Now, if you have a little bit of room like I do, try and get more room by pushing it back, because we're gonna do one more. You want to fill all this up to the eye of the hook here. So I'm going to use just a little tiny bit here, because I'm not looking for a whole lot, just looking for enough to fill that gap. Brush all the little hairs out, trim the tips off. Go ahead and do the best you can to get that around the hook. There we go. 1, 2, and then let it spin. Kind of help it if you have to, because it gets a little tricky working right up against the eye of the hook there. But once you're up there and you have this all kind of scooted back here, you can go ahead and whip finish. I'm just going to do a half hitch, because that is much easier to do on this kind of fly. Just like so. I'll throw in one more just to be sure. Just like that. And then we're going to go ahead and trim. All right, now for the most part, you're done with your fly. So if you're going to add some head cement, this is the step where you would do it. Just get you a nice little dot. Put it on the thread right there. Perfect, just like so. Go ahead and put your cap back on. And this is where your razor is going to come into place here. I kind of got some hair stuck right here, so we're just going to go ahead and... Perfect, just like that. Okay, so now we're going to take our razor. Go ahead and flip your fly over in the vise. Or if you have a rotating vise, go ahead and just rotate it on over. What we're going to do for the bottom here is we want just a nice flat bottom. So just come in flat. And just start chopping. No bend in the razor, just nice and flat. That's all we're looking for. You might have to go over it a couple times just to get any erroneous fibers there. Let's see, now we got a nice flat bottom. Ow, I just poked myself. And now we're gonna flip it back over. For this next step, remember, as you're trimming, you can always trim off. You can never put it back on. So try not to over trim, but bend your razor blade like so, and just go kind of upwards and around all the way until you reach that collar. See, now we're getting a nice head going there. Now, I will say this much, I am no master at spinning deer hair, so bear with me here when I sit here and do this. But like I said, you can always trim, you can never put it back on. So now that we've got it back to the collar here, we're just gonna go ahead and take our scissors and kind of just give it a little more shape and kind of get the bits that we couldn't get with the razor blade. There. Kind of liking how that's looking. Like I said, you will get messy, you will get deer hair everywhere, so just worry about it and vacuum it up later. So just like that. And that is how you tie the Zoo Cougar. If you are not subscribed to our YouTube channel, go ahead and hit the subscribe button. And if you're not subscribed to our monthly fly tying supply drops, head on over to trueflysupply.com. Hit the subscriptions button. There you can see all the different subscriptions that we have. We got a saltwater tying box that we just launched, and then, you know, we have our trout tying box where you get awesome patterns like this one. So head on over to trueflysupply.com, check us out, and I will see you in the next video.